fall is coming, because I love mushroom picking, and because I love watercolor, I invite you to paint with me a mushroom in 10 minutes. I know that you also like my longer demo, but I thought it would be interesting to make a series of shorter demos so that you can easier paint along and, you know, watch it several times if you like. Hoping also that the approach would appear more clearly in a shorter demo, and at last to be able to fit a bit of watercolor even when you don't have much time. So this is the first video of this kind of paint with me in 10-minute series. Hope you like it. I don't have the mushroom, which is going to be my subject anymore because I ate it. That's why I'm going to use this photo I took of it on my iPad to paint from. When I want to paint in a restricted amount of time, like in here, I put an alarm, but not at the length I plan, like here 10 minutes, but a bit shorter one. So I'm going to put an alarm at 8 minutes so that I know that when it rings I still have 1 or 2 minutes to make the final touches to my painting. I hope I will be good with the 10 minutes timing, but I am sure you will be surprised about what you can achieve just in a few minutes. By the way, if you want to paint along, I would recommend that you watch the video once first, just to observe a bit what I am doing, and then that you would rewatch it while painting with me. Yeah, let's paint, paint, paint! Hey, hey. Come together right now. Paint with me. Paint with me. To be able to paint quickly, that's nice to have a bit of a plan at the beginning, so I always try to find an approach for my subject. So for example, what I like with this mushroom is it's white food, because I can use negative painting, and then I notice so that the cap is darker, of course, than the food, and it's a bit of a brownish, yellowish. The cap is darker at the top and lighter at the bottom, which is a bit the reverse than what light could have as an effect, but it's an interesting variegated wash in here that I can imagine, and there is this white trim in here underneath the cap. So here, everywhere where it's white, I know that it's going to be the background that is going to define my subject, and then all around I can maybe add a few hints of leaves, or maybe like in here, just one more obvious leaf. So that's a bit of my plan for painting. So you can see my palette, my water pot, I have my brushes, I sprayed my pans in advance. I kept a bit of space in here to be able to put the reference photo for you. So I guess we are ready to go. So yeah, let's put 10 minutes on the clock, and that's it. Go for it. So I am going to start mixing a bit of brown with my leftover on the palette. This is transparent red oxide, for example, a bit of quinacridone fuchsia. And I want to start defining, my palette is a bit annoying in here, the foot of the mushroom, painting the background. So here, this is the background to the right of the mushroom. So you can tell that the foot is larger, you know, at the bottom, and a bit thinner. So it's always more difficult, for example, when you are right-handed, to paint the left side, but you can get through it a bit that way. So I am not trying to make kind of exact replicate of the shape of the mushroom. I can already see kind of interesting, you know, granulating effects with the transparent red oxide, just putting a bit more to keep it intense. Here it is. As you may know, I like sometimes when it's just a bit messy all around. I have some kind of leaking phthalo turquoise in here in my palette, which is a bit of the complementary of these warm colors. So if I want to, you know, to add a bit of a greenish shade, I can make it in here. So this would be a bit of leaves and everything. I have to remember that I planned to have only 10 minutes to paint, so I don't want to, you know, to spend too much time on it. And so now I am going to paint the cap. So why not starting, I just wash my brush, but in fact I'm going to start by the dark shape at the top. I check if the video is still rolling. So the color is at the same time dark but also a bit warm. So I just added a bit of goethite in here. So I try to get it dark, and then I am going to dilute it gradually, and probably afterwards adding a bit more of strong pigment at the top. And I want here the color to be a bit brighter, so I am using pure quinacridone gold and then a bit diluted with some other pigment. And you know, I don't want the colors to be too different. I am searching for harmony, so that's why I'm putting a bit of yellow in here too. This is to define. Another way would be to start with the lighter shade and to go to the darker. Maybe I could have made this too, and so rather light at the bottom. I can put a bit my work at an angle if I want to help a bit the wash to work for me. And yeah, I want to put a bit more. Oops, this is really strong, but no, it's going to dilute with the other colors, and sometimes a kind of a strong shape can be nice. So I try to get a bit of this shape of the mushroom, which is quite flat at the top, and then a bit of this curve. This my variegated wash is quite bad. And so underneath the mushroom I have this white trim, so once again I'm going to mix kind of a dark color and to define also the mushroom bit here underneath. And something I didn't talk about at the beginning is also the shadow on the cap, so this is going to be really interesting too. I need to keep a bit of time to do it. So this is a bit kind of a background, and so I have 5 minutes left, so I am mid-time. Just keep cool and make a kind of nice shadow in here underneath the cap. This is a bit greenish. This is too red. So try to find a bit of a nice color for this shadow. So I am using a bit of dry brush effect to give some texture to the subject. Could be a bit darker in here at the top. And you know, I blended it a bit here so that it doesn't look too much like a cutout. So I was waiting a bit here to dry to make a few things. Maybe while it's still a bit drying, I can try to evoke a bit of the leaf, you know, underneath, thanks to once again a negative shape, because the leaf is lighter than the background, the surrounding of forest. And I could even, maybe with my sword liner, evoke a bit of the structure of the leaf. So yeah, maybe because, you know, in the forest you have so much branches and it's not plain, so I try to give a bit of interest. I'm going to keep this corner white, you know, so that the page is not too full of things. Maybe this could be also branches or anything. I am not paying too much attention with colors, and yeah, I want to keep a bit of the top white to give a sense of light. Maybe this is too white. I could just drop a bit of wash. I would probably make a few splatters also to give a I'm not sure I use my water pot in a logical way, so don't look at it. And yes, so I talked about, or maybe I didn't really express it, but defining slightly more the mushroom cap in here using negative painting and stronger pigment. Because it's still wet, it's a bit difficult, you know, the wash is creeping in here. Sometimes you can push it with your finger, which is an interesting technique to make. So this is just to make the mushroom pop a bit more from the background. So I have almost finished my first 8 minutes. My alarm is going to ring quite soon. Maybe just slightly darker in here too. Yeah, here it is. Oh, what a bad alarm thing. So I'm going to add just the 2 last minutes. And so I try to focus what is important for me in these last minutes. I would say maybe it could be like darkening a bit this shadow underneath to give depth. And I don't know if this is dry enough to make it also slightly darker in here. I think my mushroom cap is a bit plain, so I would like to add just a bit of texture using you know, dry brush and not too much water on my brush, and maybe a bit more color, so I just picked my quinacridone gold again. So maybe a shadow underneath this leaf to make it pop, and I would say a few splatters and it could be it. You know, just to give it a bit of something. Here it could create some background or something, because it's not dry on the foot of the mushroom. It can, you know, you always have all kind of bugs, and so you don't want it to be perfect. Give life to it. Yeah, maybe this kind of wet background is fun. So I think this is it. This is my 10-minute mushroom quinacridone gold. Here it is. So this was quite fun, a bit tight. First I was thinking 15 minutes, and I thought, oh, I can do it in 10 minutes and it can be even more exciting and more interesting for you because of a condensed kind of watercolor demo. And I admit that maybe I took a bit too much my time at the beginning, and 10 minutes seemed a bit tight, but I am really happy I did it in 10 minutes. At some point when painting I was not so sure about it. I was thinking maybe I won't have enough time to give it a bit of depth and interest, you know, and I didn't want it to look flat or boring or too simple. But finally, with all this kind of sword liner brush strokes, and once again the wet in wet and the splatters, and adding the lift in the foreground, this really helps, I think, to make a nice painting. And I didn't have time to overthink too much colors, and I used quite a lot of color mixing on the paper, dipping in the transparent red oxide and quinacridone fuchsia, quinacridone gold, and also the phthalo turquoise. And finally, I like that you can see all these subtlety of colors, and it's not just a boring brown, but all these kind of colors that work together to create all kind of browns, with a greenish brown and reddish brown and orangish brown. I would say the time limit gave probably even more dynamic to my brush strokes, and maybe even more kind of wet in wet uncontrolled effects. So I like this, and also it also prevents you to over overwork your watercolor, so this is a really good point. If you want to paint along with me, of course you can pause the video from time to time just to take a bit more time than me to make the next step, but maybe try not to go over 20 or 30 minutes at most to be sure not to overwork your piece and keep it spontaneous and dynamic. And I was just thinking, why not creating a hashtag so that I can be sure to see your work. Sometimes on Instagram when you tag me, and if I don't check it right away, I feel I can't really always see your work and I always fear to miss it. So why not using the tag paint with Anne-Laure? Maybe not the easiest, but yeah, paint with me, it's a bit of the idea of this. And with this sky mode, let's keep it loose and fresh approach. Be sure I will be really happy to see it and to put a like and everything. So yeah, use this and we will also be inspired by all these mushrooms popping out of Instagram and the internet. Feel free also to talk about the video and put a link, especially if it's on Facebook or something, so that people can discover it and paint some more mushroom with us. Please tell me if you liked this painting in 10-minute session type of video. Paint with me. I would be really happy to have you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more creative gorgeousness and watercolor demos and artist tips. Thank you so much to all my current subscribers who keep me pumped and motivated. See you next Tuesday. Bye.